The year was 2125 when the Galactic Council delivered its fateful decree. Humanity was to be cast out from the interstellar community, deemed too volatile and unpredictable to be trusted among the other, more civilized races. For decades, the humans had butted heads with the Council, their restless ambition and disregard for diplomatic niceties sparking endless conflicts. When the final vote was tallied, the verdict was swift and uncompromising. All contact with Earth would be severed, and any human found traveling beyond their designated star system would be met with summary destruction. It was a crushing blow, but one that visionary engineer Michael Donovan was determined to overcome. Donovan had long anticipated the possibility of such an exile, and in secret he had been preparing a bold plan, gathering the brightest scientific minds and most resourceful pioneers from across the globe. He convinced them to venture forth into the unknown, seeking out a new home beyond the reach of the Galactic Council. It would be a monumental undertaking, filled with peril and uncertainty, but the alternative, submitting to a future as second-class citizens in their own solar system, was unthinkable. With little time to spare, the exodus began. Hundreds of specially designed colony ships blasted off from Earth, their hulls packed with precious cargo, food, water, construction materials, and the most cutting-edge technology humanity could salvage. Leading the way was Donovan's flagship, the mighty Tempest, a marvel of engineering outfitted with experimental engines and weapons systems that would give the humans their only hope of survival. As the colony ships punched through the atmosphere and streaked across the void of space, the people on board, engineers, scientists, farmers, families, gazed out at the receding blue orb of their homeworld, hearts heavy with the weight of their decision. Many shed tears, mourning the life they were forced to leave behind, unsure if they would ever see Earth again. But Donovan, standing tall on the bridge of the Tempest, knew there was no turning back. "This is our destiny now," he declared, his voice carrying through the intercom to every ship in the flotilla. "Out there, in the unknown, we will forge a new future for humanity, one where we are masters of our own fate, beholden to no one." The journey was long and arduous, with malfunctions, supply shortages, and occasional attacks by roving pirate bands, testing the limits of the colonists' resolve. But Donovan's unwavering leadership and the ingenuity of his team kept the flotilla on course, guiding them to a distant, forbidding world that would become their new home. Dubbed New Earth by the settlers, the planet was a harsh, arid world with sparse resources and a thin, unbreathable atmosphere. But to the exiled humans, it represented a clean slate, a chance to build something entirely of their own making. Donovan wasted no time coordinating the construction of massive domed cities, powered by innovative fusion reactors and shielded from the planet's inhospitable environment. Within a generation, New Earth had been transformed. The initial trickle of settlers swelled into a thriving population, their numbers bolstered by the birth of children born on this new world. Guided by Donovan's vision, they poured their collective ingenuity into every aspect of their society. Agriculture, manufacturing, medicine, and most importantly, technology. It was in this area that the humans truly excelled, driven by a hunger to not just survive, but to one day return to the stars and reclaim their rightful place. Donovan himself led teams of brilliant scientists and engineers, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. Breakthroughs in fields like fusion power, anti-gravity, and directed energy weapons steadily transformed New Earth into an industrial powerhouse, its factories churning out ever more advanced technologies. As the decades passed, the gap between the exiled humans and a Galactic Council races widened. While the other civilizations remained relatively stagnant, content with their existing technologies and political structures, New Earth hummed with a constant state of progress and innovation. Donovan's vision had become a reality. Humanity would not be shackled by the limitations imposed upon them, but would instead rise to new heights, forging a destiny written in the stars. But even as the colonists thrived, a simmering resentment towards the Galactic Council never faded. The memory of their banishment, of being cast out from the interstellar community they had hoped to join, burned like an open wound. And as Donovan grew old, he began to contemplate a bold, even dangerous plan, to one day return to the stars, not as exiles, but as conquerors. "We will show them," the aged engineer murmured to his most trusted proteges, "that humanity cannot be so easily discarded. The time will come when we will reclaim our rightful place, and the galaxy will tremble at our power." Little did the Galactic Council know, but the seeds of their downfall had already been sown, and the day of reckoning was fast approaching. As the decades passed on New Earth, Michael Donovan's vision of rebuilding humanity's technological prowess slowly took shape. Facing the harsh realities of their exiled existence, the colonists had no choice but to innovate and adapt, driven by an unrelenting determination to not merely survive, but to one day reclaim their rightful place among the stars. Donovan's most trusted proteges, a brilliant young engineer named Sarah Chambers and a driven physicist named Jack Rousseau, led the charge in pushing the boundaries of what was scientifically possible. Pooling the collective knowledge and resources of the colony, they spearheaded ambitious research initiatives that would transform New Earth into an industrial powerhouse. One of their first breakthroughs came in the realm of fusion power. Recognizing the limitations of the colony's existing fission reactors, Chambers and Rousseau assembled a team of the colony's top physicists and engineers, tasking them with developing a revolutionary new power source. After years of painstaking work, they succeeded in creating a compact, highly efficient fusion reactor that could provide nearly limitless clean energy to power the growing cities. "This is just the beginning," Chambers declared as the first reactor was brought online, its steady hum filling the air. "With this kind of power at our fingertips, there's no limit to what we can achieve." True to her word, the fusion reactors ushered in a new era of industrial and technological advancement on New Earth. Factories sprang up across the planet, churning out ever more sophisticated machinery, vehicles, and construction materials. The colony's mining operations expanded, extracting valuable resources from the planet's crust to fuel this rapid industrialization. But Donovan and his team knew that mere industrial might would not be enough to secure humanity's future. If they were to one day return to the stars and confront the Galactic Council, they would need weapons and spacecraft that could match or exceed the capabilities of their former oppressors. This realization drove Rousseau and his team of physicists and weapons engineers to achieve another remarkable breakthrough: the development of directed energy weapons. Drawing inspiration from the Council's own energy-based technologies, they created powerful plasma cannons and particle beam emitters that could vaporize targets with devastating force. "These weapons will be the key to our liberation," Rousseau declared as he unveiled the first prototype to Donovan. "With this kind of firepower, no Galactic Council fleet will be able to stand against us." Simultaneously, Chambers led the charge in spacecraft design, overseeing the construction of a new generation of starships that would be the pride of the New Earth fleet. Fusing advanced fusion propulsion systems with lightweight, highly maneuverable frames, these vessels could outpace and outgun any of the Council's own ships. The crown jewel of this new fleet was the Tempest, a massive warship that dwarfed even the largest capital ships in the Galactic Council's armada. Bristling with plasma cannons, particle beams, and a powerful experimental shield system, the Tempest was a symbol of humanity's technological resurgence and a harbinger of the reckoning to come. As the years passed, the people of New Earth watched with a mix of pride and trepidation as their homeworld transformed into a veritable fortress, its factories and shipyards working around the clock to churn out ever more impressive technological marvels. Donovan, now in the twilight of his life, knew that the time was rapidly approaching when he would have to make the fateful decision to return to the stars and confront the Galactic Council. "We have made ourselves strong," the aged engineer said to Chambers and Rousseau, his voice tinged with both triumph and melancholy. "But the true test lies ahead. When the day comes, we must be ready to seize our destiny, no matter the cost." Chambers and Rousseau nodded, their expressions resolute. They had dedicated their lives to Donovan's vision, and they knew that the future of humanity itself rested on their shoulders. The exile was over. Now, it was time to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. In the silence that followed, the distant rumble of the Tempest's engines could be heard, a thunderous reminder of the power that had been forged in the crucible of their isolation. The galaxy, unaware of the storm that was about to descend upon it, would soon tremble at the return of the banished humans. The years passed quickly on New Earth, as Michael Donovan's vision transformed the once barren colony into a technological powerhouse. Guided by the brilliant minds of Sarah Chambers and Jack Rousseau, the human settlers had forged a future beyond anyone's wildest dreams, creating advanced fusion reactors, directed energy weapons, and a fleet of state-of-the-art starships. Chief among these vessels was the Tempest, a massive warship that embodied the full extent of humanity's resurgent technological capabilities. Its sleek, angular frame housed a veritable arsenal of plasma cannons and particle beam emitters, while its powerful fusion engines could propel it through the void of space at previously unimaginable speeds. For decades, Donovan and his team had meticulously planned and prepared for the day when they would return to the stars and confront the Galactic Council. Now, as the aging engineer neared the end of his life, he knew the time had come to put their bold plan into action. "The hour is upon us," Donovan said, gathering Chambers, Rousseau, and his most trusted advisors in the Tempest's cavernous command center. "Our exile is over. It is time to reclaim our rightful place among the stars." The plan was simple, yet audacious. The Tempest, accompanied by a small fleet of the colony's most advanced starships, would venture forth beyond the borders of New Earth, breaching the invisible barriers that the Galactic Council had erected to contain the exiled humans. Once in Council space, they would make a bold declaration: reinstate humanity to the interstellar community, or face the consequences. "They will not welcome us with open arms," Rousseau warned, his brow furrowed with concern. "The Council will see us as a threat, and they will move to destroy us." Donovan nodded grimly. "That is why we must be prepared to meet force with overwhelming force. The Tempest and our other ships will demonstrate the full extent of our technological superiority. If the Council refuses to heed our demands, they will learn the true price of their arrogance." With the plan set, the Tempest and its support fleet launched from New Earth, their powerful engines propelling them across the vastness of space. Chambers monitored the ship systems, ensuring every component was operating at peak efficiency, while Rousseau oversaw the readiness of the fleet's formidable array of directed energy weapons. As the days turned into weeks, the human ships steadily encroached upon the borders of Galactic Council space. Donovan, now bedridden but still sharply alert, kept a constant vigil, his eyes fixed on the distant stars. "We are close," he murmured, his voice laced with a mixture of trepidation and resolve. "They will know we are coming." True to Donovan's prediction, the Galactic Council was quick to react to the approaching human fleet. Sensors across the Council's domain detected the massive, unfamiliar ships, and a sense of dread began to spread through the ranks of the various alien races. "Unidentified vessels have breached our outer perimeter," a Council member announced, his voice tinged with panic. "Their power signatures are unlike anything we have seen before." Alarmed, the Council hastily convened an emergency session, summoning their most experienced military commanders to devise a strategy. But as they pored over the sensor data, a growing realization dawned upon them. Their own arsenal of weapons and ships was simply no match for the formidable human fleet. "This cannot be," a Vorn counselor gasped, his tentacles thrashing in distress. The exiled humans were meant to be forgotten, not to return as conquerors. The debate raged on, with some advocating for an immediate overwhelming strike to destroy the human ships before they could reach Council space. Others, however, argued for a more cautious approach, suggesting that diplomatic channels be opened in a last-ditch effort to avert a potentially catastrophic confrontation. As the Council members argued, the human fleet continued its inexorable advance, the Tempest leading the way like a harbinger of doom. Finally, as the massive warship reached the outer edge of Council territory, A hail came through on all channels, cutting through the din of the heated debate. "This is Captain Emily Harrington of the Tempest," a stern, resolute voice declared. "I speak on behalf of the exiled humans of New Earth. For too long, we have been cast out from the galaxy we once called home. Now, the time has come to reclaim our rightful place within the Galactic Council." Harrington's words echoed through the council chambers, silencing the arguing factions as they turned their attention to the view screen, where the imposing form of the Tempest loomed large. "You have a choice," Harrington continued, her tone uncompromising. "Reinstate us to the Council, with all the rights and privileges afforded to your member races, or face the consequences of your hubris in denying us our place among the stars." The council members exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of Harrington's ultimatum settling upon them like a heavy shroud. For the first time in living memory, the Galactic Council faced a threat that they were ill-equipped to handle, a technological and military superior, forged in the crucible of exile, that now stood poised to take its revenge. As the moments ticked by, a profound silence fell over the chamber, broken only by the faint hum of the Tempest's engines, a harbinger of the reckoning to come. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Captain Emily Harrington's ultimatum echoed through the halls. The various alien races, who had once so easily dismissed the exiled humans, now found themselves in a state of stunned paralysis, unable to formulate a coherent response. "Reinstate us to the Council, with all the rights and privileges afforded to your member races," Harrington's voice repeated, her words cutting through the tense stillness. "Or face the consequences of your hubris in denying us our place among the stars." The Vorn counselor, his tentacles trembling, was the first to find his voice. This is an outrage. The humans were banished for their belligerence and disregard for our laws. How dare they return, threatening us with their primitive technology?" A chorus of agreement rippled through the chamber as the other council members quickly rallied behind the Vorn's indignant outburst. But as the debate descended into a cacophony of accusations and demands for immediate action, a lone figure rose from her seat, her calm demeanor cutting through the chaos. "Silence," Dr. Jessica Chambers commanded, her voice firm and unwavering. As the chamber fell quiet, she turned her gaze towards the view screen, where the hulking form of the Tempest loomed large. "Captain Harrington, I must ask, how is it that you and your people have come to possess such advanced technology? When you were cast out, your capabilities were but a fraction of what we now see before us." Harrington's response was laced with a mixture of pride and defiance. "In the centuries since our exile, we have poured our every waking moment into technological innovation and advancement. While your own civilizations have stagnated, content with your existing knowledge, we have forged a future that transcends your wildest imaginings." Chambers' brow furrowed as she considered Harrington's words. "Then you must understand our trepidation. Your fleet outmatches anything we can field. To grant you full council membership would be to hand over the reins of power to a race that has already proven itself to be volatile and unpredictable." "We are no longer the same people you cast out all those years ago," Harrington retorted, her tone hardening. "The arrogance and hubris that once defined us has been tempered by the crucible of our exile. We have learned humility, yes, but also the true value of our own capabilities. We are no longer mere children to be patted on the head and sent on our way." The Vorn counselor bristled at Harrington's words, his tentacles lashing out in anger. "And so you believe you can simply waltz back into the council, demanding that we welcome you with open arms? You have the audacity to threaten us with your newfound power." Harrington's eyes narrowed, her expression unwavering. "We do not seek your welcome, Vorn. We seek only the restoration of what is rightfully ours, a seat at the table of the Galactic Council, with all the rights and privileges that entails. Deny us this, and we will take it by force." The chamber erupted into a cacophony of outraged shouts and demands for immediate military action. But as the council members descended into chaos, Dr. Chambers raised a hand, silencing the room once more. "Captain Harrington," she said, her voice calm and measured. Surely there must be a way for us to resolve this without resorting to bloodshed. We are a council of diplomacy and cooperation, not war. If you are truly willing to set aside your past transgressions, then perhaps there is a path forward that benefits us all." Harrington considered Chambers' words for a long moment, her gaze unwavering. "You speak of diplomacy, Doctor, but your council has shown us nothing but disdain and rejection. We have endured centuries of exile, forced to carve out a new existence on a harsh and unforgiving world. Now, with the power to reclaim our rightful place, you expect us to simply lay down our arms and beg for your forgiveness." She paused, the faintest hint of a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "No, Doctor. The time for diplomacy has passed. The Galactic Council will either accept us as equals, or it will be consigned to the annals of history, swept away by the tide of human ambition." The chamber erupted once more, the council members frantically debating the merits of negotiation versus outright confrontation. But as the arguments raged on, a growing sense of unease settled over the room, for they all knew, deep down, that the humans held the upper hand. Across the void of space, the Tempest and its accompanying fleet of human warships remained poised, silent sentinels waiting for the Council's ultimate decision. And in the heart of the Galactic Council chamber, the realization dawned that the balance of power in the galaxy had irrevocably shifted. The exiled humans had returned, and they would not be denied their rightful place among the stars. The Galactic Council chamber descended into chaos as the members grappled with Captain Emily Harrington's bold ultimatum. Amid the cacophony of outraged shouts and demands for immediate military action, Dr. Jessica Chambers raised a hand, silencing the room once more. "We cannot afford to act rashly," Chambers warned, her voice cutting through the din. "The humans have clearly surpassed us in terms of technological prowess. Any attempt at open conflict would be disastrous." The Vorn counselor, his tentacles lashing out in anger, fixed Chambers with a withering glare. "Then what do you propose, Doctor?" "That we simply capitulate to their demands. Allow the very race that was once banished for its aggression to now dictate the terms of our own council." Chambers met the Vorn's gaze unflinchingly. "I am not suggesting we surrender, Counselor, but we must acknowledge the gravity of our situation and plan accordingly. The humans have the power to crush us, and we cannot afford to underestimate their resolve." Across the void of space, the Tempest and its accompanying fleet of human warships remained poised, silent sentinels waiting for the Council's decision. Aboard the massive vessel, Captain Harrington and her crew monitored the ongoing debate with a mixture of impatience and anticipation. "They are stalling," Harrington growled, her eyes narrowing as she studied the tactical displays. "They know they cannot win against us, but their pride refuses to allow them to submit." Jack Russo, the fleet's chief weapons officer, nodded in agreement. "Their only hope is to buy time, to try and rally their forces in a desperate attempt to overwhelm us. But we both know their arsenal is no match for what we possess." Harrington's gaze hardened as she considered their options. "Then we must show them the full extent of our power, to leave them with no choice but to accept our demands. Prepare the fleet for a demonstration of force." Back in the council chamber, the debate raged on as the members struggled to find a viable solution. Some argued for a diplomatic approach, cautiously suggesting that they open negotiations with the humans and seek a compromise. Others, however, remained adamant that any concession would be a sign of weakness, and they demanded immediate military action. "We cannot simply capitulate to their demands," the Vorn counselor thundered, his tentacles thrashing in agitation. "The humans must be reminded of their place, lest other races within the council see our weakness and seek to challenge us as well." But as the argument continued, a sudden tremor rippled through the chamber, accompanied by the distant sound of powerful engines. Startled, the council members fell silent, their eyes drawn to the massive view screen that dominated the chamber's far wall. To their horror, the image that filled the screen was that of the Tempest, its formidable weapons systems powering up as it began to advance towards the council's primary outpost. Panic gripped the chamber as the realization dawned that the humans had grown tired of waiting for a decision. "They mean to attack," the Vorn counselor cried, his voice laced with terror. "We must mobilize our defenses immediately." But before the council could respond, the Tempest opened fire, its powerful plasma cannons unleashing a devastating barrage that sliced through the outpost's shields with ease. Explosions rocked the structure, and within moments, the once impregnable fortification had been reduced to little more than smoldering debris. Stunned silence fell over the chamber as the council members stared in disbelief at the smoking ruin on the view screen. The Tempest, its weapons still glowing with residual heat, maintained its position, a silent warning of the fate that awaited those who dared to defy the humans. Slowly, Harrington's voice crackled over the comm system, her tone calm and resolute. "This is but a small demonstration of our power," she declared. "We will not be denied our rightful place in the Galactic Council. Reinstate us immediately, or face the consequences of your obstinance." The council members exchanged horrified glances, their previous arguments forgotten in the wake of the Tempest's devastating display. Dr. Chambers, her face ashen, turned to the Vorn counselor, her voice trembling. "You see now why we cannot afford to underestimate them. The humans have forged a technological superiority that far exceeds our own. Any attempt at open warfare would be nothing short of suicidal." The Vorn counselor opened his mouth to retort, but the words died on his lips. Across the chamber, the other council members sat in stunned silence, their collective resolve crumbling in the face of this unyielding display of human might. Slowly, Chambers rose from her seat, her gaze sweeping across the room. "We have no choice," she said, her voice tinged with resignation. "We must accept the humans' demands and reinstate them to the Galactic Council, lest we face the full wrath of their vengeance." As the council members reluctantly nodded their agreement, a sense of dread settled over the chamber. For they knew, in that moment, that the balance of power in the galaxy had irrevocably shifted. The exiled humans had returned, and the Galactic Council would never be the same. The Galactic Council chamber was gripped by a heavy silence as the members grappled with the aftermath of the Tempest's devastating attack on the primary outpost. Smoke still billowed from the ruins on the massive view screen, a stark reminder of the humans' technological superiority and their willingness to use it. Dr. Jessica Chambers, her face etched with a mixture of horror and resignation, turned to face the other council members. "You see now the futility of opposing them. The humans have forged a power that outmatches anything we can field. Any attempt at open conflict would be nothing short of suicidal." The Vorn counselor, his tentacles twitching with a barely contained rage, fixed Chambers with a withering glare. "And so we are simply meant to capitulate to their demands, to welcome back the very race that was once banished for its aggression and volatility." Chambers shook her head slowly. "We have no choice, counselor. The humans have made it abundantly clear that they will not be denied their rightful place. To resist them now would be to invite our own destruction." Across the void of space, the Tempest and its accompanying fleet maintained their position, a silent testament to the humans' unwavering resolve. Aboard the massive warship, Captain Emily Harrington watched the events unfolding in the Galactic Council chamber with a mix of triumph and trepidation. "They have seen the price of their defiance," she murmured, her gaze fixed on the view screen. "Now they must decide whether to accept our terms or face the full wrath of our vengeance." Jack Rousseau, the fleet's chief weapons officer, moved to stand beside Harrington, his expression grim. "The council members are scared, Captain. They know they cannot match our firepower, but their pride will make them reluctant to surrender." Harrington nodded, her jaw set with determination. "Then we must leave them no choice. Prepare the fleet for a full-scale demonstration of our capabilities. If they refuse to reinstate us, they will learn the true meaning of our power." Back in the council chamber, the debate raged on as the members sought a way to avoid the seemingly inevitable capitulation to the humans' demands. The Vorn counselor, his tentacles lashing out in agitation, continued to argue for a military response, despite the overwhelming evidence of the humans' technological superiority. "We cannot simply roll over and accept their terms," he bellowed, his voice echoing through the chamber. "To do so would be an admission of our own weakness and an invitation for other races to challenge our authority." Dr. Chambers, her patience wearing thin, fixed the Vorn with an unwavering stare. "Counselor, surely you can see the futility of your position. The humans have demonstrated their ability to destroy our most formidable defenses with ease. Any attempt to resist them would be nothing short of suicide." The Vorn counselor opened his mouth to retort, but before he could speak, a sudden tremor rippled through the chamber, accompanied by the distant rumble of powerful engines. All eyes turned to the view screen, where the massive form of the Tempest was rapidly approaching, flanked by a fleet of equally imposing human warships. "They mean to attack again," the Vorn counselor cried, his tentacles thrashing in terror. But as the council members braced themselves for another devastating assault, the Tempest's weapon systems powered up, not in a show of aggression, but in a dazzling display of sheer technological might. Beams of energy crackled and arced across the void, coalescing into intricate formations and patterns that left the council members awestruck and mesmerized. What is the meaning of this?" the Vorn counselor stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. Chambers, her eyes wide with wonder, leaned forward in her seat, captivated by the spectacle unfolding before them. "It's not an attack," she murmured, realization dawning on her features. "This is a demonstration of their capabilities, a display of power that leaves no doubt as to the extent of their technological superiority." As the energy beams continued to dance and weave across the void, the council members found themselves transfixed, their previous arguments and objections forgotten in the face of this breathtaking display. The Tempest, its weapon systems now silent, maintained its position, a silent challenge to the council to reject the humans' demands once more. Slowly, the Vorn counselor sank back into his seat, his tentacles drooping in defeat. "We have no choice," he said, his voice barely audible. "To resist them now would be to invite our own destruction." Around the chamber, the other council members nodded in solemn agreement, their expressions etched with a mixture of fear and resignation. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and they were powerless to stop it. As the Tempest and its fleet continued to hover ominously in the distance, Dr. Chambers rose from her seat, her gaze sweeping across the chamber. "Then it is decided," she said, her voice steady. "We will reinstate the humans to the Galactic Council with all the rights and privileges afforded to our member races." The council members, their pride shattered, murmured their assent, knowing that to do otherwise would be to court the wrath of a technological juggernaut that they were ill-equipped to confront. In the silence that followed, the distant rumble of the Tempest's engines echoed through the chamber, a thunderous reminder of the power that the exiled humans had forged in the crucible of their isolation. The galaxy, unaware of the storm that was about to descend upon it, would soon tremble at the return of the banished humans. The Galactic Council chamber was a somber place in the aftermath of the humans' dazzling display of technological might. The once proud and defiant council members now sat in a heavy silence, their expressions etched with a mixture of fear and resignation. Dr. Jessica Chambers, her gaze sweeping across the room, rose from her seat, commanding the attention of the assembled delegates. "It is clear that we have no choice but to accede to the humans' demands. To continue resisting them would be tantamount to suicide." The Vorn counselor, his tentacles curled in on themselves, let out a defeated sigh. "Then we have no choice but to welcome them back into the council, with all the rights and privileges they once possessed." Around the chamber, the other members nodded in reluctant agreement, their pride shattered by the overwhelming display of human power. "Very well," Chambers continued, her voice steady. "We must now determine the terms of their reinstatement. What concessions can we extract from them to ensure the stability and security of the Galactic Council?" The debate that followed was tense and protracted, with the council members cautiously weighing their options. Some argued for strict limitations on the humans' activities and influence within the council, while others advocated for a more accommodating approach, hoping to build a lasting peace. Aboard the Tempest, Captain Emily Harrington and her trusted advisors, Sarah Chambers and Jack Rousseau, closely monitored the proceedings, ready to reject any terms that they deemed unacceptable. "They will try to limit our power and autonomy," Rousseau warned, his brow furrowed with concern. "The Council will never truly trust us, even after all we have endured and accomplished." Harrington nodded, her expression grim. "Then we must be firm in our demands. We will not accept any concessions that compromise our rightful place within the Galactic Council." As the negotiations continued, the council members found themselves caught between the proverbial rock and a hard place. They knew that they had little choice but to grant the humans' demands, yet they were also keenly aware of the potential risks that their reinstatement could pose to the delicate balance of power within the council. Finally, after hours of tense debate, Chambers rose once more, her voice cutting through the din. "We have reached an agreement, Captain Harrington. The terms of your reinstatement are as follows. First, the humans will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all the rights and privileges afforded to our other member races. This includes the freedom to participate in all council proceedings, to vote on matters of galactic import, and to maintain a presence within our diplomatic and economic spheres." Harrington leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "And the limitations?" Chambers hesitated, her expression pained. "You will be subject to regular inspections of your military capabilities to ensure that you do not pose a threat to the stability of the Council. Additionally, any significant technological advancements or weapons development will be subject to Council oversight and approval." Rousseau let out a derisive snort. "So you would shackle us with bureaucratic red tape, even after we have demonstrated our superiority?" Harrington raised a hand, silencing her chief weapons officer. "We will accept these terms for now. But understand this, Galactic Council. Any attempt to infringe upon our autonomy or to limit our rightful place among the stars will be met with the full force of our vengeance." The council members exchanged uneasy glances, their apprehension palpable. Yet they knew that they had little choice but to agree to the humans' demands. The alternative, the prospect of facing the wrath of the Tempest and its fleet, was simply too terrible to contemplate. With a heavy heart, Chambers nodded. "So be it. Welcome back to the Galactic Council, Captain Harrington. May your presence here bring us a new era of peace and prosperity." As the council session drew to a close, Harrington and her advisors retreated to the Tempest's command center, their expressions a mixture of triumph and trepidation. "They have accepted our terms, for now," Harrington said, her voice tinged with a hint of satisfaction. "But we both know that this is only the beginning. The Council will never truly trust us, and they will be ever vigilant, searching for any sign of weakness or betrayal." Chambers nodded, her brow furrowed with concern. "That is true, and we must be prepared to defend our rightful place, even if it means confronting the Council once more." Rousseau, his expression grim, placed a reassuring hand on Chambers' shoulder. "Then we will be ready, Sarah. The humans have forged a future that transcends the Council's wildest dreams. They will never be able to contain us again." As the Tempest and its fleet prepared to enter Galactic Council space, a palpable sense of unease settled over the galaxy. The exiled humans had returned, and the balance of power had been irrevocably shifted. The Council, once the undisputed masters of the stars, now found itself in the unenviable position of welcoming a former adversary back into its ranks, a decision that would forever change the course of galactic history. The Tempest and its accompanying fleet of human warships glided silently through the void of Galactic Council space, the once exiled pioneers returning to the stars they had been denied for centuries. Aboard the massive flagship, Captain Emily Harrington stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the distant stars. "We have come home," she murmured, a hint of triumph in her voice. "After so long, humanity has reclaimed its rightful place among the stars." Sarah Chambers, the fleet's chief engineer, moved to stand beside Harrington, her expression pensive. "But at what cost, Captain? The terms of our reinstatement are restrictive, to say the least. The Council will never truly trust us, even now." Harrington nodded, her jaw set with determination. "That may be true, but we have what we sought. A seat at the table of the Galactic Council, with all the rights and privileges that entails. In time, we will prove our worth, and they will have no choice but to accept us as equals." Jack Rousseau, the fleet's chief weapons officer, approached the two women, his expression grim. "The Council will be watching us closely, looking for any sign of weakness or betrayal. We must be vigilant, lest they attempt to revoke our membership and cast us out once more." Harrington turned to face Rousseau, her eyes narrowing. "Then we must be prepared to defend our place, no matter the cost. The humans have forged a future that transcends the Council's wildest dreams, a future that they can no longer ignore or deny." As the human fleet made its way through the bustling corridors of Galactic Council space, the various alien races watched with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The sheer size and power of the Tempest and its accompanying ships was a stark reminder of the technological gulf that now separated the humans from their former peers. In the council chambers, the delegates gathered once more, their expressions etched with a mixture of unease and apprehension. Dr. Jessica Chambers, her gaze sweeping across the room, cleared her throat, commanding the attention of the assembled members. "The humans have been reinstated to the Galactic Council," she announced, her voice steady. "As per the terms of their agreement, they will be granted full membership, with all the rights and privileges afforded to our other member races." A murmur of discontent rippled through the chamber, and the Vorn counselor, his tentacles twitching with barely contained agitation, rose to his feet. "And what of the limitations we have placed upon them?" he demanded, his voice laced with concern. "Surely we cannot trust these exiles to respect the boundaries we have set." Chambers raised a hand, silencing the Vorn. "The humans have accepted our terms for now, but we must remain vigilant, for they possess a power that far exceeds our own. Any attempt to limit or infringe upon their rightful place will be met with the full force of their vengeance." The Vorn counselor's eyes widened, and he sank back into his seat, his tentacles curling in on themselves. Around the chamber, the other delegates exchanged uneasy glances, their apprehension palpable. "Then we must find a way to coexist peacefully." A Xyloth counselor spoke up, her voice laced with a hint of resignation. "For to oppose the humans now would be to invite our own destruction." Chambers nodded, her expression grim. "Precisely. We must learn to integrate the humans into our diplomatic and economic structures, leveraging their technological prowess for the betterment of the Galactic Council as a whole." The debate that followed was tense and protracted, with the council members carefully weighing the pros and cons of this new arrangement. Some argued for a more aggressive stance, calling for strict oversight and control over the humans' activities. Others, however, recognized the futility of such an approach and advocated for a more collaborative approach. Ultimately, it was the Xyloth counselor's pragmatic suggestion that won the day. The council would extend a hand of friendship to the humans, inviting them to participate in joint research and development initiatives, as well as economic partnerships that would benefit all member races. "We must embrace the humans as allies, not rivals," the Xyloth counselor declared, her voice carrying a note of conviction. "For in doing so, we may yet forge a future of unparalleled prosperity and progress for the entire Galactic Council." As the council session drew to a close, Chambers watched the proceedings with a mixture of relief and trepidation. She knew that the road ahead would be a treacherous one, fraught with challenges and potential conflicts, but she also recognized the opportunity that lay before them, the chance to harness the humans' technological prowess for the betterment of the entire galactic community. Aboard the Tempest, Harrington and her advisors observed the council's deliberations with a sense of cautious optimism. They had fought hard to reclaim their rightful place among the stars, and they were not about to squander this hard-won victory. "The council has accepted us, For now, Harrington mused, her gaze fixed on the distant stars. But we must remain vigilant, ever ready to defend our autonomy and our vision for the future. Chambers and Rousseau nodded in agreement, their expressions resolute. The exiled humans had returned, and the balance of power in the galaxy had been irrevocably shifted. Now, they would forge a new path, one that would shape the course of galactic history for generations to come.